This episode of the Coarse podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of Espy. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
This is Dr. Serena Kajani from the Tri Channel, and you're listening to the Coarse Grind podcast with your host, Shawn Rosler.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. 2021, episode 151 of the Coarse Grind podcast with you as always, host creator Shawn Rosler. How the hell is everyone doing this evening? Definitely a longer period of time between episodes. It's been so long I don't know how to talk. But definitely a well-deserved, well-needed. I think everybody heading in to December, into January, with all things COVID, all things political, all things holiday, I think we all just kind of needed to deflate. I mean, listen, I ended it off with a hell of a firework with Serena Kajani. If you didn't listen to it, please go back and listen to it. She's amazing. She's lovely. And she sent my family the sweetest holiday care package just for being on the show. So future guests, please listen. You should send me shit when we're done. With that said, I just kind of wanted to gather things in, huddle up the team. And when I say the team, it's really two people. And the one person is a self-important, bloated, egotistical asshole. But the host of the show, on the other hand, no, I'm kidding, of course. That's the host I'm talking about. My producer, I can't say enough kind things about, and because he's got a virtual date or something, I won't say too many things about. But here's the deal, man. I've known this guy longer than most people in my life. I've been friends with him longer than most people in my life. And he's been one of the most solid people in my life. On again, off again, because we kind of float into each other's lives, here and there. And I'm constantly honored and constantly flattered that this guy does what he does for literally the second highest salary in the Coarse Grind pay structure. So he is fantastic. He is the host and the creative mind behind more things than I can count, but we're going to talk about. He is a creative genius. He is an artist. He is a poet. He is an all-around sage, just master of all things art and steampunk and all other libertarian things. Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming back to the program once again, my good, dear, sweet friend who I love very much and the producer of the Coarse Grind podcast, Johnny Leyland Robinson. What's going on, my man?
Hey, I like how you described steampunk as a libertarian thing. It's not strictly true, but there's a crossover. There's a definite nerd crossover there. So
what I try to do is tie between as much things as I possibly can, and that just seemed a logical connection to me. It goes without saying. It's a new year. It's a new set of 50. You've been along for the ride virtually for 100, in person on the 50th, and obviously 150 was virtual for everybody. But here we go into the 50 before 200, and I'm hoping you and I are on stage again when it comes time for 200. It remains to be seen. I'd like to do a beard off with you. I think my beard is rocking shit right now. First time in my life I've been allowed to, so that's pretty spectacular. But, looking at 2021, I know, I'm the constant. Everyone knows it's the Coarse Grind podcast. It's what he does. And maybe he does some live demos. I'm doing a live cooking, lesson actually next weekend that someone was fortunate enough to bid on and pay way too much for. But, they're going to learn a couple things from me, I guess, in person. But the Coarse Grind is my thing. But Johnny, my man, I know you are up to things left, right, and sideways. So tell me what's in the holster. Like, do you have anything on deck now? Are you planning? What's going on?
Well, I am actually planning a few things, and there are a few things that are out now that might be interested to the people out there.
Oh, do tell.
Okay. So the first thing you need to understand about me and my situation is my family. I have two brothers who are, quite frankly, well, they're at least as creative, intelligent, all those nice things you said as I am, probably a bit more. And my youngest brother, Ted, has a pathological desire to be busy. I did not obtain this defect in character, but he did. So he always needs to be doing something.
Right.
So he has been getting us into writing podcasts. And we have one out right now. It's called The Curse of Civilization. It is a adventure serial podcast. You can find it on Spotify. I wrote it. He produced it. And my middle brother, Ben, also helped with the editing, writing, and producing and all that. It's pretty good. You got Daring Do, fights, magic, mystery, love, and time travel, all those neat things. Yeah. You can find that on Spotify right now. We are also in the midst of planning a new podcast, which is going to be sort of a historical podcast in that we're going to be going over radical art movements throughout history.
Oh, okay. All right. We should talk offline. I've got a couple people who would definitely plug in well with that for you.
That'd be great. I haven't quite come up with a name for that one yet. Possible names include Eradicate All Rational Podcasts or This Is Not a Podcast. Still working on that one.
I like that.
There's also, I am bringing back the Johnny Lemuria Show, which is sort of my catch-all subculture, going for sort of a late-night talk show vibe with interesting people on sort of thing. Mm-hmm. That will be premiering sometime in January. So I think that's a fairly good general overview of what is going to be in the works for 2021. We're going to be making new podcasts, including the art podcast and some more adventure serial podcasts, because those are fun to do. And I'll be having the John Murray Show come out pretty soon.
All right. Awesome, man. And Cinematic Pig's Feet, you're not going to make me watch any more shitty movies again? Is that all done?
Well, I mean, that is my reason for living, is making you watch movies that just leave your brain broken. What I'm probably going to do is incorporate that into the John Lemuria Show, make it more of a segment of the John Lemuria Show. I have that once a month, it'll be a Cinematic Pig's Feet episode, that sort of thing.
I love it. I love it. And, you know, for folks at home, folks listening who don't understand how the relationship goes, you know, John is producer extraordinaire. He makes my shit sound good. And, you know, in return, he makes me watch Russian serial killer movies that make no sense and leave me literally curled up fetal position in the corner, like whimpering at times. Some of them are good.
Now, Shawn,
here we go.
Let's be fair.
Go ahead, Mom.
A Russian serial killer movie would probably have been more watchable than what we actually watched.
That is true. What was that one? The Zone?
The Zone or Stalker, I think, was the other name for it.
Oh, and I don't know, man.
While it's a very important film, it is also, it's a bit of a slog.
It's unwatchable, but yet, though, I will say, and yet, every time I got pissed off enough to put my hand on the mouse to close it down, I'm like, wait a minute, what's going to happen? And then click, 2 hours later, I'm like, shit. What was the other one you made me watch, though, with the 10 mini segments in it?
Oh, the Aria one.
Yeah, Aria. That's what it was.
Called Aria.
That was.
Yeah, it may have been called Aria.
Jesus, that was another mess. So if you're looking to mess with your head,
that had variety to it. I mean, that's the thing. It was an anthology, so some of them were, fairly straightforward. Some of them were playful and all that, and some were just. Oy.
I like how you defend it. It has variety. So does a Chinese buffet, but it also has malaria. So like. You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win me over with variety. That's bullshit, man. So yeah, CPF and I mean anything. You know, I'm always game for it. That's the relationship we have. Kind of pulling back that is it the fourth wall, pulling it back and being like, hey, look, here's how the producer and the host of the Coarse Grind interact. I mean, ultimately, I love being on other people's shows. Let me just kind of drop the facade for a minute. If anyone's like, he's a reluctant guest, he's hard to get on, dude, ask me. Rodney from Deliciously Dope just sent me the release paperwork to be on their show, so I guess I'll be doing that soon. I don't know. Lots of shit in the holster. Like I said, doing the cooking lesson, got about 5 episodes lined up. Thanks to Serena at the Tri Channel, was able to get talking to some of the other folks from the Tri Channel. If you haven't checked it out, Tri Channel on YouTube. It's Irish people trying crazy shit.
I love the Tri Channel.
Oh my God.
You're going to be part of that?
No. I'm not going to be part. Well, Shawn, if you're listening, I would be okay with being part of it. So I was talking to Blathan. That's not the proper Celtic pronunciation. Okay. Do you know who I'm talking about? Blaithin.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm butchering it. And actually, shit, Serena told me how to pronounce it, and it's like totally not how it looks. But anyway, if you Google that right now, you'll know who I'm talking about. And but I literally I popped over to her about something. She really really strong feminist, awesome post that she made, and I'm like, yo, you know what? She is really into the culinary. Again, not necessarily the connection you'd make with a culinary podcast. I'm like, let me throw a feeler out there. Instantly backed. I'd love to. I'm like, these Tri-Channel people are some of the most amazing human beings ever. Serena, you still, of course, hold the number one spot. If you're listening, which you're probably not. You're probably busy being a scientist and putting those tubes together and piping them with a pipette. Pipette! That's what I was trying to think of. So, yeah. So, I mean, lots of stuff. In the near future, it sounds like, you've got one in the water and two really moving. Obviously we've got 5 episodes lined up. What does the rest of 2021 look like for John? What are you hoping to do with, whether it is just the Johnny Lamoria show or anything? What's the next step up? Where do you want to go with it?
Where do I want to go with it?
I put him on the spot.
I'd like to be able to do it full time. That'd be a great thing. That's a nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
The whole perennial quit your day job sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the common dream of everyone who does this sort of stuff. Yeah,
I mean, again, to kind of pull although I think I was kind of public about this, and I still can't speak about it in specifics. I was in the casting process for a reality show. And, again, I think it's the dream of anyone who starts a podcast. And John, talked to me about this, when you start it out and it really starts to take hold. And I mean, I've had moments, I've had brushes with taking hold. And I don't know if the ship has sailed. Maybe it hasn't, maybe it has. I don't care. But you always have it in the back of your head. Man, what if my numbers were up there? When I hit the top 30 culinary podcasts last year, I forget who it was from. It was from my mom. No, I'm kidding. I forget who it was from, though. But I was like, oh, wow, holy shit, that's pretty cool. And it's weird because then it, drops off. It's even if you're in the top 30, it's you're just kind of there. How do you make that your full-time? So how would you make that your full-time, John?
How would I make it my full-time? It's really about putting the effort into it. I mean, it comes down to sweat a lot. I mean, I think it was Thomas Edison who said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration.
Yep.
So that's what it would come down to. You can't just have, I have this great idea for a podcast. You got to have a great execution for a podcast.
Yep.
And I think that's the continual search, for me at least, is to get that great execution for a podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny, for as steady a stream, and, I don't necessarily know that I have as steady a stream of guests, of inspiration, of, hey, how can I, freshen stuff up? I like to think I keep it relatively newish, introducing guests like Serena, what the hell does a postdoctoral researcher in fiber and gastrointestinal health have to do with anything? And by the end of the episode, you're going, holy shit, I can make a chocolate chip cookie recipe with 200% of my fiber in it. Cool. Awesome. So I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right, though. I think, for folks listening who are maybe budding podcasters, up-and-coming podcasters, I for one, and I'm sure, John, you would never turn it down. If you have, if you're ever oh, how can I start one? Reach out. I mean, I'll answer it. I think actually I have answered that a couple times. It's I don't know. It's a format, man. What you do with it is yours. How you work it is yours. The format's there. Oh, you're a podcaster. Well, oh, you're an actor. But, well, there's some greats, some Tom Hanks, and then there's some Nicolas Cages. And obviously Nicolas Cage is the better one of the two. So there it is. So projects aside, let's make it personal. Let's pull it even farther back. We're gonna let the listeners into our personalities, because we are, aside from being a host and a producer and a host yourself, we're actually people when we're not on the mic. And I forgot to tell you this, and it's funny as shit. At 100, I met somebody who was a listener who had never met me before, and he came up to me. And he looks at me and he goes, "Wow, you're really tall in real life." And I had this moment, I'm like, what the? Wait, what? What do you mean I'm really tall in real life?
On podcast?
I'm like, I said that. I said, "Do I sound short?" He's like, "Oh, you sound a little tiny." And I mean, I was shooting testosterone in my ass the next week. Like, come on, boys, drop, baby, drop. But
remember, you put some reverb and echo on your voice next time we do the
ladies
episode.
and gentlemen, welcome back. But yeah, so it's funny still. Like there's people who I meet who are like, "Oh wow, you're that guy," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, thank you." That feels good every once in a while, every like twice that it's happened. But we are people outside of this, and so what does 2021 look like for John outside of the projects we do, the shows that we do?
Well, let's see. I am going to say it looks positive. I am determined to be positive at least until April. I mean, then the reality of the horror of our world will get to me again. But until April, I am determined to be positive at least till April.
Now, why till April? I have to ask.
I don't know. April Fools. It sounded like a inherently funny month.
All right, that's fair. April 1 comes around, everything comes undone. So, what have you got going? What is it you want to tell? Like, if there was a mission critical for John this year, what would that be? Not even Johnny, not even Reverend John. What's John doing this year?
What is John doing this year? Well, artistically, there is one get I've been wanting to do for a couple of years now.
What's that?
And I like the idea of alternate realities. I like the idea of just putting something into the world that doesn't actually belong there, but just making believe it does. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And one thing I've wanted to do is present a fictional civilization, like do a museum exhibition on a fictional civilization. Mm-hmm. Just get everything made. So you've got anthropology, you've got pottery, you've got examples of textiles and artwork and stuff like that for like sort of immersive experience, and you can just drop that into world history so that when you get out of it, if I'm very clever, you're not quite sure whether or not it was fictional.
Nice.
That is sort of my dream project to do.
So not necessarily not a VR, not an AR, but an AR as far as alt R.
More of an AR as far as that goes. The alternate reality game situation where everything is presented straight, essentially.
I got you. I like it.
That would be my dream project to do.
That's his dream project. I love it. I love it, man. And we should be going into 21 with some hope, some openness to that, because like this is the year of opportunity. It's funny, we're recording right now, and I've got a couple news outlets in the background, kind of feeding me bits. Speaking of opportunity, and for me, looking at 21 personally, I want to do more stuff with my family. I think it's lame. It's lame, but I got to throw this out there. COVID has made me realize where the core of my existence is, and it wasn't outside the house. It was always inside the house. And John, you and I, always the geeks, always the D&D players, always the I'm going to stay inside. Boo son, boo son, boo son. But really, COVID really did make me realize that, and some personal stuff, not quite fit for air, but I'm sure I'll share in time. It just made me realize how tight-knit, my people are, mi gente, mi familia. Like, I adore them. I love my family. I love doing stuff with them. And so, for me, it's far less artistic than my colleague here, John, making it this grand AR masterpiece. I'm like, hey, I want to play games with my kids. But it's true. It's true. So, but there again, you know what? The world's shitty outside. My AR is, hey, kids, look, life is great. Don't go outside. So with that said, I think we'd be remiss recording this day as somebody quipped. I think rightfully so. We've got December 7th, and we've got September 11th, and we've got January 6th, days that will live in infamy in the history of this nation. So looking at 21 then, we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge the political landscape. Things are going to change. Things are going to change for the better. Watching tonight, I have a good fraternity brother, friend, colleague who works for a certain news outlet, which will remain unnamed, who have been tapping for knowledge all evening. And it's interesting, all the oppositions to the electoral votes, most of them, sorry, one did sneak through for Arizona, but most of them have been quelled because of what happened today. So I want to get who I consider one of the more intelligent political minds' thoughts on the happenings of today from you, Reverend Lemuria, if I may indulge you for a moment. Talk to me about what happened today and what you hope to see happen going forward.
What happened today is a symptom. We have to realize that all this is symptoms. This is not because of ballots. I struggle to say this because you want to just blame people.
Yeah.
And people are acting like idiots. You just want to say, well, they're acting like idiots. Therefore, we can just blame this on idiocy when we don't have to worry about it. But it's more than that.
Mm-hmm.
This is all a symptom of deep problems in the American psyche. And it's also a symptom of deep distrust in American institutions.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing about me saying that. That's easy to say. It's easy to say, yes, there's deep distrust in American institutions, which is causing all this chaos. And people gravely shake their heads and go, yes, deep distrust. We must restore the trust that's obviously due all American institutions. The thing is, it's not. American institutions have been doing terrible things and lying to people for, let's be honest, over 200 years. American institutions are dog doo-doo. Mm-hmm. Yes, maybe they're better than some other countries, and yes, maybe other countries do things that are worse, but we put too much stock into our institutions. We put too much reverence and faith into our institutions that is unwarranted, and then when the bubble bursts, it bursts ugly.
Yeah.
And it's been bursting ugly for a while now.
That's fair. That's fair. What would you say specifically, though? And I mean, overall, existentially, I agree with you. I think the Obama presidency was one of the closest things we've gotten to, like, hey, things can actually be, like, I hate to be so base about it, but cool. Like, it doesn't have to suck. We can be cool to one another. But getting past that and looking specifically, narrowing the focus to today, what is the outcome? Like what do you think happens from here? Like, obviously at this point, everything that we've seen leads us to believe, with very little to no question, Biden is certified and takes office on the 20th. Looking at my calendar, the grains of sand say there's approximately 13 full days left before then, and some person has the codes. What's going to happen in these 13 days?
That's a hard prediction to make. I don't think there is a great obvious chance of anything, shall we say, cinematic happening in the next 13 days. This was not the end of it, what happened on the 6th. there is going to be more things like this happening. I just don't know if it's going to be happening that soon. I mean, there is a tendency to think, oh, it's all going to lead up to the 20th, but then after that, if nothing happens then, if we don't have any bombs drop or any other bombshells drop between now and when Biden gets sworn in, that'll be the end of it. That won't be the end of it. We're going to be dealing with the fallout and the weirdness of this for years. This is not going to end.
Somebody said, it might have been Chris Cuomo, I'm not sure who it was, but Chris, if you're listening, hey. He said, I'm paraphrasing, of course, that the healing period after the Civil War was one of the longest healing periods. And it's interesting because while I can't say no bloodshed was had, because there was today, I shudder. I literally shudder to think at the repair this is going to take to come back from. But I'm confident that honestly, if we're looking to a cabinet to really start to remake this, I mean, one of the most diverse cabinets in the history of government itself, which I think is a great step forward. Biden is another old white dude, but I think he's smart enough to step back and be like, no, focus on these folks. Like he got the vote. Now I think he's going to pass the torch. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. I don't know.
Well, I think one thing to consider, everyone is taking lessons from the Trump administration.
Oh man, you're right.
And one of the lessons that I think a lot of Republicans are learning, I'm not saying it's the right lesson, I'm saying they're learning it, is that the reason Trump didn't work is because of Trump, not because of the general idea of Trumpism. That Trumpism would work if only I was the one doing it because I'm smarter than Trump.
Right. If you put if you put that message through a trumpet that could form a sentence, then it would be more well received. But they put it literally in the mouth of a third grader that couldn't, logically form the sentence. So anyway, long story short, kids, I think we're going to be okay. I really do.
I don't think you. That's not what I was going for.
Oh,
what you're going to see over the next 4 years.
You think we're screwed? Oh God.
I don't know about screwed, but what you're going to see in the next 4 years is the race to find the competent Trump.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. True.
Auditioning for that role. You got Cruz, you got Hawley, you got a bunch of people who want to do what Trump did, but think they can do it better.
I don't know. Do you think they're not so just disenfranchised at this point that they're like, yo, I've been burned. The stove is hot. I don't want to touch it again. Don't you think they're at that point?
Oh, sure. If they were sane, they would be.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
But they're not. That's the thing.
Well, I don't know.
They're enough to think that they could do it.
I think they might rush to find it, but I don't think they're going to find it. I think we'll still be in a good place. And, I don't know, from a place of positivity, which I don't typically find, but I find it, I find it with you, buddy. So, my fingers are crossed. Everything's crossed that I can possibly cross, for your projects, for the country, for everything. So, brother, I know you got to run, but I want to thank you again for being on. Quick open mic for your plugs. Hit it. Tell me all about those projects.
Coarse Civilization. You can find that on Spotify. You can go to johnnylemuria.com where you can get updates on everything I'm doing, including other podcasts and artwork and all sorts of interesting things. You can find me on the Twitter and on the Facebook and on the Instagram, all at Johnny Lemuria or some variation thereof.
I love how he prefaces it all with the. That's the best part. That's how you know we're over 40, kids, because we call it the. That's how we do it. So, Johnny, my man, I love you to death, and thank you so much for being on with me, brother.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has, as always, been the Coarse Grind Podcast. With me this evening for episode 151, none other than my fabulous, luscious, voluptuous producer, Johnny Leyland Robinson, a.k.a. Reverend Johnny Lemuria. Be sure to check out all his happenings across the board at johnnylemuria.com, as well as all his the Twitter, the Facebook, and the Instagram happenings. Next episode is going to be number 152, coming back a little bit local talking wine and beer at the same time. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned. Are you passing through central Pennsylvania and looking for one of the best dining experiences and craft brew menus around? Look no further. Turkey Hill Brewing Company and 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, PA has everything you could ask for and then some. Service, food, beer together. Unbelievable. Be sure to check them out. Call them today for reservations. 570-387-8422. Call today.